Welcome to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
Up.
It has felt like an oven in Florida.
Yes.
I don't know what happened. It was nighttime. We'd get into like the lower 60s and it would kind of cool off. Now it's like 80 at night.
Summer in Florida, y'all. Every year working landscaping, I'm like, what the hell am I doing right now? Boom, flash, afternoon rain.
Yeah, it's raining.
Nobody knew it was going to rain. It is.
Yeah. Luckily, our microphones, I don't think, pick it up because I've been through enough of this to know. So. But Eastman's on board. So there's Eastman, everyone.
Hey,
the man behind the scene.
That's right.
But, all right, so it's going to be hard for me to concentrate, though, with how loud the rain is.
Yeah.
So I'll just let you know ahead of time.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, so hot in Florida, but we have the perfect snack if you're getting too hot, cookie dough bites.
That's right. Coming to DoorDash, Dash Mart, all across America.
So they just picked them up on Monday.
Yep.
Obviously, they have to go through the distribution channels and everything. So go ahead, Eastman, run on through.
Come on, dog.
So it's going to take, I would say, probably, 2 weeks before we'll see them?
I would say so. So
2 to 3 weeks?
the process we've kind of been talking about with y'all is we've fulfilled direct now, and we're partnering with distribution channels so that these big storage houses basically can hold our product in other locations, get them out to the customer a little faster, and get them out without overwhelming our team so that we can kind of just mass produce, do what we do here, you know?
Right.
So,
yeah.
But what that does is it adds a little bit of time to fulfill, if you will. So, yeah, should be able to get them in, just like Brad said, about 2 weeks after this airs?
Yeah, I think about 2 weeks after this airs, it should be in majority of those DashMart/DoorDash locations. And then, obviously, great news, Friday of last week, we got a PO from Publix, which I know a lot of you who have maybe been watching this for a while have heard me talk about Publix POs, and how they were coming. Yep. Just know that like everything in this world takes astronomically longer than you think it should, just because there's so many people involved in the decision making.
Yeah,
you know?
well, we're a big, we're not as big of a ship as Publix, but we're a much bigger ship than we were, and things take a little longer for us now. Legal and all kinds of stuff has to get in the mix with an organization like Publix, but I'm excited, man. Our local Publix people are like, when you coming?
Yeah, I think, no lie, I've been talking to our local Publix people for like a year now. Because, I mean, this time last year was when we were making purchases for the machinery to do other stuff, not even what we're doing now. Yep. But we were making those purchases, and then we were talking to Myers and Publix and Target and stuff like that. Also got news that we're doing like is it 423 stores or something like that? It's another Southeast region Target rollout. So thank you, Max. I know you watched some of these. Max hooked us up with a contact there, and we were able to start working with that contact. And so that's been very
fruitful.
For us, so.
They're excited. We're excited, obviously. And, man, we're such a Target product. And really everywhere, man.
Yeah.
But,
it's just... like I said, I think that we've talked about the bites. You guys will see where actually Andy, another addition to the team, videographer, has come on with us, and he's going to focus solely on like long form content, or I guess mainly on long form content for Fat and Weird, and then chop that into shorts. But for our first long form videos, we're going to talk about these bites because I was actually scrolling through my phone, and in February of 2023, so. I mean, we're coming up on a year and a half from there, was when we tested bites for the first time at our facility on a different piece of equipment. Right. Long story short, that equipment couldn't do it well enough at scale, but it could do well enough to like get samples out. Yep.
So we prototyped out of here. We've got first iteration. But to put that in perspective, we just found out that some of the Publix folks still had our cookies in their freezer and pulled them out on like iteration 1 wholesale bags. Right?
August of 2023 bags.
Yeah, so it's crazy. That's how long some of this stuff takes, and how good our product is that many months later. So that's
The guy, the only reason I know about that is a friend messaged me and was like, "Where can I get these?" And I was like, "Where did you get those?" Because it wasn't. It was definitely like a prototype bag and everything. And they told me that they're at a friend's house, and that friend is the distribution buyer for Publix. So they worked for a distributor, but they buy for Publix. And they were just said that, they got one of the first ever samples that we had done, and that was before we really had distribution channels open. So
it's sick. I love it.
Well, something I learned about business is a lot of times a business you can look at how well they're doing and they're growing and stuff like that. But it's not even about how well that product's doing. It's just like how many distribution channels they're in. And I bring up the energy drink world because I know more about it because of my friend Hayden Allen Zalani. But he was telling me like the only reason that you see like Celsius above Alani is just they have a larger distribution network, so more people can get their product and put it in store. Even though Alani's like growing quicker and maybe does better in a side-by-side comparison in stores they're just in more places. And I think that's why wholesale was so much more appealing to me than franchising. Because in franchising, you know, someone...
I told you how shitty franchising world was on managing all that real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Yeah.
But like, for example, someone calls us and they want to franchise Fat and Weird, so they open one location. So now there's 2 locations of Fat and Weird. And even if you do centralized manufacturing to maintain product continuity, you only have 2 locations. You spend a lot of money to get those 2 locations. Whereas if you get one... like Publix to order, you're in 1,400 locations now.
Yeah, well, centralized manufacturing's, you know, always been critical to the business plan here on the wholesale side.
Yeah.
You know, we've just seen what happened to the TCBYs of the world and the single offerings. And, you know, I was in fast food at that time when I talked to you about it.
Yeah, Minchies and all that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like we did chicken and desserts. So we did like the mains and the desserts, and so all you had to do was have a good enough product. You know, Subway, the rest of them, they got a little something sweet after your meal.
Yeah.
But you just have that much more customer turn, whereas like you're kind of banking on these weird, you're not going there for lunch, you're going there like between lunch and dinner or late night or whatever. It's hard to juggle. And truth of the matter is, I was building these restaurants, and you know, you could see the squeeze was, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Complicated if you guys understand, but overly simplified. You're borrowing money. You're basically arbitraging an interest rate, and if you can make enough money, then it absolutely makes sense because at scale you can make a lot of money. But it's not making sense anymore, and it hasn't
because the interest rates are too high.
Well, and the AUV is going down, right? The average unit volume, so the amount of dollars it generates, crumbles under $1 million.
Well, hey, that leads us actually perfectly, great segue into the point of now 80% of Americans consider fast food a luxury.
Right.
And we're, you know, Adam's background in that is the fast food world mainly. I know, you know, I have landscape experience, but the fast food world mainly. So that literally kind of pivots us directly into that next point.
Yeah.
And that there's an article that recently came out, 80% of Americans consider fast food a luxury. So talk more on that, because you were talking about the AOV going down.
Think about it. You're riding around with your family. Let's say, hard economic times have hit us all. So you're riding around with your family, and you know, it feels like a splurge to go buy the ice cream place, the cookie place, the whatever place. Feels like a splurge. It does not feel like a splurge to go to the grocery store and have a treat for yourself. We all want a treat for ourselves, and so you know, we're not a value product. We're a luxury product, but we are priced completely competitively. We are priced right where everybody can afford this product to have in their home, have in their freezer, ready to pull out and bake themselves or pop in their mouth frozen, however they want to enjoy it. And it's all perception and posturing, right? We've talked about this on here, but the perception is, if I go to Dairy Queen, if I go to Crumble, I am going to splurge.
Right.
There's no reason to splurge. Please continue. It stimulates the economy.
Yeah.
But so as to build a business that we think we can withstand the tests of time and build to something very big, we want to be amongst the Ben and Jerry's of the world.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking about too is, when we were talking about the fast food route, whether you believe Five Guys is fast food or not, I saw someone post the other day, 5 burgers, 1 fry, 1 milkshake, and it was like somewhere between $78 and $82, like in that ballpark. And then I get it, McDonald's or even Chipotle and stuff like that are fast food, but like Chipotle, like for a bowl for me, it's like $16.
Yep.
And I think where I start to go, man, this is a luxury thing, is because like I could stop at the grocery store and buy all the ingredients and make the bowl, like, or make a bunch of bowls. And even valuing my time at like a decent amount, it actually turns out to be cheaper.
Yeah, that's,
you know?
I think, where we used to draw the line was, granted, better economic times and such, you would go out to the fancy steakhouse knowing full well, maybe you can't cook, okay, but knowing full well, like, this $100 plate that I'm about to clear, I could make myself for $30 or something. But it's the atmosphere, and we're having a good time, and it's the right time. Well, dude, if you can make a little chintzy fast food burger at your house for cheaper than they used to compete on economies of scale. You couldn't make that meal cheaper.
Exactly. There's no way you can make that cheaper.
You still can't make our cookie cheaper, but I guess that's the new economic
Well, and also it seems that restaurants are fighting for the bottom.
Yep.
So like now you have places
race.
like, well, is it Ruby Tuesdays and all those places doing like 2 for $20? Like I can get it. We share an app. Me and my wife get a meal, and then we share a dessert, or we both get soft drinks. There's some kind of 2 for $20, and you look at that and you go, this is cheaper than McDonald's.
Well, without getting into the whole corporate, these things are all owned by private equity now, and these private equity have vast interests in other companies that supply these groups, so they're able to run them into the ground, and then also make
about that last time.
We did, and make massive plays against the real estate and everything else. Without that, you basically have folks who need their dollars for other things.
Yeah,
like. You used to be able to go out. It was $10. $10 was like you could pretty much get that, and like then it was 12, then it was 15. Now it's $20. Now, I mean, you get a soda, you get anything to go with it. You're up there. I mean, my wife and I have joked, about like the dinner price. We got 3 kids, whatever it is. So if we go out to eat anywhere, it's going to be between this range and this range. It has doubled, to where it's like. Used to be able to go out, have drinks and dinner and all of it, and it still be half what it is now.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think, when I was growing up, like Olive Garden and all those places seemed like a fancy restaurant establishment. You felt like you got a lot of food for the price. But like now I feel like quality's gone down and their price has gone down because they're almost like competing with fast food.
Well, like you said, they're in a race to the bottom.
Well, when I went to lunch, when I was a senior, I remember for $5 we'd go to Wendy's and I would get like 4 items from their, I would get their bacon cheeseburgers or whatever. I'd get like 4 of those things from the 99-cent menu and then like maybe a fry, and my total would be like five something,
right. Well, I mean, flashback to when we were younger, $5 was lunch, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking 20, but again, you've got multiple layers. You've got VC groups that got their hands in the pie, and they're going to do everything they can to squeeze their margins. They're still making billions.
Right.
So where's it coming from? It's coming from food quality. It's coming from training of staff. It's coming from maintenance of locations. It's a gamut, and it's not great. The restaurant industry in a whole is strange, man. They pay their front-facing people. They're the people that actually. I go back to restaurants because I like the staff that I interact with more than the food. Because again, I like to cook, so it's experiential for me. I know that everybody I interact with is solely getting paid by the customer, not by the owner of the restaurant.
Right.
So it's a weird system that has perpetrated across everybody's got to flip the iPad at you or whatever. And when prices of everything have gone up, and again, tipping, right? I know we have a whole economic class of people that rely on this. I just think it's wrong. Not the tipping part, not the helping your neighbor part. But
it's mandatory for them to live.
I should pay the restaurant and they should pay you a living wage, and you're their advertising face.
Right.
So it bothers me when then they have to do setup work and tear down work and all that other stuff, because it's you pay them $2 an hour.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%.
So they don't want to put up with it anymore. People aren't tipping because they don't have the money to tip, and because the price of everything has gone up.
Right.
So again, that $10 meal is now a $20 meal, and that 20% has gone from $2 to $4, and I don't have as much as I feel like I had before anyways. It's wild. Yeah. And then truthfully, man, they flip that iPad around. It isn't 10, 15, 20. It's 20, 25, 30. I know. What you want to tip? Or do you want to do this awkward,
Well, and people don't realize that percentages are based on the total, right?
Yeah.
So asking someone to tip 20% on a $200 bill versus 20% on a $100 bill, I mean, it gets a lot harder to swallow those amounts that come up, especially we start eating in these higher end restaurants. Your bill's $800 and you're like, I'm about to give this bro for an hour. He's going to get $160. Again, I'm not trying to knock it, but you start going, man, if I spend an hour doing something, there's no way I'd get $160 or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it just means that you and two couples can now hire someone to come cook you a meal if you want to, or whatever. Again, yes, also not knocking it. Again, I know I've had a lot of great servers and a lot of great bartenders and stuff like that, but I'm also, business owner, business person, right? If I'm a bartender, why did I go back to that bar? Because they poured heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't ring up all my drinks.
Right.
Well, that's to the business owner, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, it's like, I don't love that. It's tough, man. It's propped up. You've got the delivery apps that'll go snatch that food for you with no interaction. People don't want
to take a cut, though.
They do, but people don't want to interact with people anymore.
Yeah. I think my biggest question, which I've brought up to you a lot, was about like how certain businesses are so established that it's hard to dethrone them or even come in and compete. And I mean that in like a lot of different standpoints. For example, to build a brand new apartment complex and then compete with the way interest rates are, the cost of materials, stuff like that, it's hard to come in. Joe Smith, who built his apartment complex 10 years ago at much lower labor rates, all that stuff, he's making more money because he keeps raising the rates. And then you're trying to get into this and you're like, I can't, financially, this doesn't make sense. Same thing with launching a lot of businesses because of economy of scale. Like, I can't compete with this clothing brand because they're literally ordering millions of tons of fabric and their prices are at the bottom.
Well, you're right. But these, and not knocking it, I participated in some of it to make some money, but groups are getting together with deeper and deeper pockets and then getting involved in things that they've never gotten involved with before. You used to be able to go out and get a few single family homes, pay on them while you were working as a teacher or a line repair guy or whatever. Just a very, normal job that I think anybody could strive for. And retire with, you didn't need 30 rental homes or 10 or whatever it is, but you'd have 5 and do fine. VC Group's buying up all the single family homes. All the single family homes, $400,000+ now. I mean, like, good luck getting your rent. Good luck. So if you don't need diminished returns because 2% of $1 trillion is still just a metric ton of money,
right?
Then, most people can't live on even 10% of whatever they can put together.
Right.
And the margin, it's every industry. It's across the board.
Well, so do you want to know a big boy that's getting dethroned, though?
Who's that?
Nike.
Oh, they are. Yes,
Nike's
they are.
market cap took a $28 billion hit in one day when they slashed projections by like 10%. It wasn't even huge. It was like 10%. And this is for my business people in here that are very business minded. Adam and I have talked about this. Companies are expected to grow year over year. Eventually, when you get to the size of a Nike or an Apple, a Google, how are you really supposed to continue to grow to get that 10% return to your shareholders? Because there's a ceiling. Like we said, no one can afford to buy you because you're literally worth $3 trillion. On top of that, some of this money seems fake. Like, like Snapchat's worth hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever and like never turned a profit, right? So I get very confused about that side of it all too. But also on that, just to expect someone to grow year over year over year, eventually you get to a point where you're like, can't grow anymore. I got to add on to different facets, but my business has reached it.
Yeah, well, once you've reached market saturation, the only thing you've got left to do is go down because competition's going to enter the market. Right?
That's what's happened. Nike On and Hoka's.
On Cloud, Saucony, I guess, has been there.
They said On and Hoka's are the main ones.
Yeah.
I think Hoka's has really almost built like this cult running thing going on.
I feel like every nurse I see has a pair of Hoka's
on. And On has done the same thing.
On too. Yeah,
believe
On's
it or not,
brand. It must be really comfortable.
Aubrey, back when she had probably like 200-ish thousand followers and we went up to Canada, we met some guy that worked with On and he sent her a pair of shoes and was like, hey, we're really trying to bust into the U.S. market. So it's really cool to think about the fact that like Aubrey was an influencer for On. Like they sent her like 2 pairs of Cloud shoes and stuff. So no, I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah. So I mean, once you reach that market saturation, really the only other thing to do is through acquisitions. I mean, if you can't buy other people's market, if you can't buy their customers effectively, look at a brand, and I don't know the ins and outs of them, but like Mars, right? You ain't getting M&Ms in anywhere else.
Yeah.
So you got to go buy something else or invent something else to really kind of get your way into a category. But if it's the same category,
you have to be different.
You have to be different, right? And so the way that these brands are going to be slowly dethroned, if it works out, is through sheer entrepreneurial force.
In
Death
speed.
by 1,000 pricks.
Yeah, I was
and
going to say speed.
Yeah.
The speed at which we can do something versus the speed at which Ben and Jerry's can do something is like, we literally can have a new cookie flavor out tomorrow.
Yes.
Ben and Jerry's is going to have to do like some kind of R&D. I mean, it would take them way longer. I mean, months, right? Yeah. And so speed would be what we would crush at. And then, like you were saying, you have to be different in the market. When Max came in with Sour Strips, his price point and price per ounce compared to Sour Patch Kids is like double.
Oh, yeah.
Because one, he's not at the volume that they're at. Right. Can't negotiate the same way they can negotiate. So how did he have to win? He had to release a product that was slightly different than everything else out there, and it was just more sour. I mean, it legitimately is sour candy.
And you double down even further, man, marketing. Yeah. Market the hell out of it. Tell everybody about your product, but then have other people tell everyone about your product. Making your product cool, doing all these things. These are things that these companies haven't ever had to do because some of them, because they're the only person, man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I don't have, market size in front of me, but I'm sure Hershey's has felt a squeeze of other chocolate bars come across the deal, but like
Feastable is being big too.
Yeah, well, but that's where I was going to get. Feastable is probably the first one to really have any real presence on the store, like you have like this much space for some niche chocolate bar.
Right.
They're on their radar, I guess. They do too well. They probably try to buy them.
Tony's too, right?
Yeah, Tony Chocolonely.
Yeah, Tony's and Feastables are the ones I feel like. But I think it's really fun and cool
marketing
because there's a lot of people. I mean, these companies have been around forever, and no one's come to go against them because in 20 years ago, you didn't have the social media game to like give you the free marketing to try to compete at the level that you need to compete at. And so I think it is really cool to watch. And when you purchase that product, you know who you're supporting.
Yep.
Like when you buy Fat and Weird cookies, you're supporting us. Yeah. You're supporting Eastman that walked by and Andy that just started working. And the reels you see, the people in the kitchen, like that's who you're supporting. Whereas when you're buying it from Hershey's, like who even knows?
Right.
Like no idea. I mean, obviously you are supporting people, but it's not. There's so much fat in there. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So
if you knew the people, you probably wouldn't be as supportive. But I mean, that's it. So I mean, how do you get the squeeze? How do you get that 10%? You have lower quality food. You have lower trained staff. You have a overall worse guest experience, so that you can pad your pockets or whatever their only interest is, and you kind of take all that money and throw it into the companies that are crushing your competitors, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be ghost kitchens, ghost grocery stores, and delivery apps.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that you and I have seen that a lot of people probably don't see as much of just because we're like in the back end of things. But the amount of people that are making a ton of money buying someone else's product and then just ghost kitchen, like making it and then sending it out are making a killing.
Yep.
There are people that are buying literally already made dough pucks. Again, nothing like our cookies. They're just like, flat your cookies, but they're buying them in bulk and then they're sending them to a location to get baked, and then people order those cookies. And it's wild to me.
It's wild to me the amount of ghost establishments. Again, we have privy to seeing what is all the inner workings of some of these delivery apps, but like, whole brands, whole menus that are operated out of the sides of Outback. That's not even the same, or some mom and pop.
Well, the question is, why does Outback even need? Outback must need that income.
Yes, that's correct. That location needs that income because of where it's located. So as these folks are getting smart, you can get the health department and everything to inspect like a commercial kitchen that that you can run entire brands out of, delivery apps.
Well, that's what we did, like our Your Pro Kitchen. That
exactly
we did,
like that. Yeah. And so you can get them in these off the beaten path, doesn't really matter, whatever the closest industrial areas. But they're doing it with grocery stores. I mean, they're going to do it with as much as they can. They're cutting out the need for the AAA real estate. They're cutting out the need for all those employees. The size of the thing can be shrunk with smart shelving and everything else, and you don't need like multiple people to feel comfortable in an aisle.
Yeah, if you could take a grocery store and probably reduce its size by it could fit in 25% probably easily because you don't need 2 carts to go down an aisle. You also don't need 70 of the same item on an aisle. You just need a box of it. And then when that box is empty, someone just replenishes.
Well, and some of
it,
this smart logistics software that,
No theft.
they're starting to implement the robot pickers.
Oh, yeah.
So then you're talking speed, efficiency. Also, man, with these delivery apps, stores are reducing, brands are reducing spillage being straight up theft. Nobody is stealing for you that they don't know you to hand to a third-party person to deliver to you. It would be damn near impossible.
Yeah, and then if you had employee theft, it'd be probably pretty easy to figure out who's stealing.
Yeah, it would be. And if you did, it would be like the mob type stuff. I mean, you'd have to have like ends and really be working them over.
Well, the reminds me. I talked to the people that Aubrey and I started Motive with. I talked to them the other day, and they had entered a competition to win a robot that essentially, like, you know, they do a lot of I mean, that's what they have now, a distribution company. And this robot, you could stack like really high, and then it like worked these like tiny shelves and would go down and get the product. So like essentially something that you would normally take out like 2,000 square foot could be in like 500 square foot.
That's awesome.
And so, which is really big for them because they're very constrained on size, but I think it's big for anyone, right? Because if you can take what you would normally have to put in a 100,000 square foot facility, and now all of a sudden it can be a 25,000 square foot facility, you're cutting your cost by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Ton.
Forget about it. There's areas where that kind of space is not available in the hearts of cities in certain areas. Here. I mean, with the cost of real estate and the cost to build. It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's interesting to just see like
very disruptive.
Yeah, where things are going. I would say that if you're ever going to start a business, I don't think there's a better time than now, especially if you can create a community.
Yep.
My friends that have done a really good job, like Nick Bear, of creating a community around his brand, are just absolutely crushing.
Yep.
And people could have said, "Oh, the supplement industry's saturated. There's all these other supplement brands," but you build a community around something, then you'll be able to.
That's right. My wife and I learned that running the CrossFit gym for so long.
Yeah,
I mean, you've heard me say it, but that's what I miss the most about it was the community aspect. The folks coming around, just giving a shit about you and helping you out when you needed help, coming together, banding together, all that stuff. We've talked a lot about the personal brand stuff, and the personal brand stuff did so well for so long that I feel like folks have transitioned into the collaborative stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they want to see it's what we all want to see, right? We want to see you doing good, but I want to see you doing good and helping somebody else do good too.
Right.
Or whatever, right? And so we're trying to do a lot of that here, Brad, the media team, whatever, ton of great ideas. But like, there's a definite shift occurring in like what our focus is on.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is like post COVID. Like I think that people became so isolated during 2020 that when we came out of that, people really started to look for other people that they felt a connection with. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Because I think that our world has gone to the point where majority, like, I mean, I'm going to double down this. Majority of connections that people have are now just internet-based connections and not in person. Oh, yes. And so because of that, they want more depth to those relationships. Yeah. And so the communities provide that depth. You find a group that loves to run like you love to run, and they start organizing Saturday runs. So you talk to them throughout the week, and then Saturday, you actually see them in person. Yep. And you go running with them. Yep. Or maybe you don't run with them, but you go run, and then you all talk about your run together. And I think that is really the next step in social media, is that community building.
And the connectivity, you hit it on the head. Social media is replacing, whether we like it or not, our actual interactions with people, because you didn't see it on my story. You didn't. I posted about it. Yeah. You didn't whatever. And so, like, I mean, there's shit that happens that, like, you know, you'll tell me, be like, "Oh, I posted about it." And I'm like, well, I knew I was going to see you. I don't really feel the need to get on and look at your account.
What's funny is that stuff gives me anxiety because, like, I'll ask someone about something. They're like, "Oh, I posted about it." And I'm like, listen, I'm already stressed enough. I already try to watch everyone's stories. And I feel like a bad friend when I don't. So please just tell me what you're talking about.
And so that's removed. Even when you do see the stories and stuff, it's removed a lot of the, like, connection, because we're jumping into it. It's also giving the world ADHD or ADD at least. But like, we're like jumping into it with pre-context that, like, I don't know what you got out of the video. I didn't tell you what my syntax was. And so Dude, it's wild, right? The young people that we have working here, I have to like get their eyesight. Sorry, Eastman, I know I probably lost my volume here. I have to get their eyesight. I have to like run them down because they're like, probably look like I look to y'all because I'm looking at myself up here on the screen all the time, but they just look down when they're talking to you. And I think it's because they're just used to not looking at a face.
Right.
You know, COVID got us all ready to like.
Yeah, have a mask on all the time.
Well, just remove the face from the component of talking or something. But yeah, it's people still need to interact. We're human.
Right.
But we're doing it in a different way. Hopefully that works out well. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's helping a lot. It was helpful for a while, and now it's, I don't know.
I think that there's some great things that did come out of the 2020 situation. Like, you know, there's some things that we learned about how we function, operate, things that maybe we learned that were important to us that we didn't think were important to us. But in general, I think that's why I'm really excited to interview my grandparents. I don't know if we've talked about it on here. If you have, I'll give you some backstory to this, but essentially I want to interview my grandparents. I've lost my grandfather. So my dad's dad is gone, but my dad's mom is still here. She's in her late 80s. And then my other grandparents are in their late 70s. And I just want to interview them and try to like capture stuff before it's gone. So I feel like there's just like a lot of questions that I would love having answered about like how they grew up. Yeah. Obviously, they got to see like a lot of technology come about. This is going to show
all of it.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah, and then to hear about, you know, my grandfather, both my grandparents were in the military, so like I won't get it from my my grandfather on my dad's side, but I will get to hear about it from my grandmother on my dad's side, just like what life was like, you know, in the military. So, and
from
I know
typewriters to AI. I mean, in the
my grandfather that passed away installed the very first ever hydraulic dental chair where the hydraulics were inside the chair itself and not in the floor. Like didn't come up through the floor.
My mom's sister was a switchboard operator.
Oh, yeah.
Her job was like, you need me to connect you to San Diego? Okay, hold on.
Well, yeah, it's crazy to think like hydraulic used to the dental chair was like, no, the dental chair has to go there because hydraulics come out of the floor into the chair. And then when they finally did like the hydraulics all enclosed, he was the first one to like do that. And he started a company that recovered the silver from X-rays or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay. We
here
talked about
locally.
That. Yeah,
I mean they were crushing.
Berg Pipe used them every year and covered the whole like Christmas party and everything because they X-ray every pipe that goes through there. So yeah,
my grandparents. Yeah, my grandfather started a company with two of his friends, and I'd love to hear more about that story because I at the time I heard they were making so much money that the friends started doing stupid stuff like buying cars and boats and stuff like that, and it ended up like bankrupting the company because they couldn't properly invest their capital to grow, which Adam knows that story all too well. But no, I think, so if you have any questions that you wish you would ask your grandparents or just to hear another perspective from another grandparent, please let me know because I'm kind of racking my brain over it. I think I'm going to just generate a list of questions. I want to give some of them to them ahead of time just so they can prepare for them. But then some of them I want to be just like off the cuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously I want to know questions like, how much was their house when they first did it, and like how'd they meet, and what that whole dynamic was like and stuff. So
I would ask, off the hip, whatever. What do you regret not doing, and why?
Yeah,
and then who do you regret losing in your life that you could have like made up for it? Like who do you regret?
Like a friend or family member or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. On your deathbed, like what little grievance did you take that at your end of life feel like, damn, I was petty for doing that?
Yeah.
Because as you get older, I just say we get softer, but like I've even got folks from my past. Now it's a long time, but it's just like, why'd I do that?
Yeah.
Even like personal family relationships. I don't want to get too deep on it, but I'm just like, man, I spent so long being mad.
Right.
To my own what?
Right.
And so any of those questions, but you say you'd like to have it, man, but just imagine how much Letty was going to like to have it.
Yeah.
A million years from now, but after you're gone.
Well, I can even imagine like, just like 50 years from now, Letty looking at that. We're going to be talking about 100 years because, I mean, they're, like I said, they're in their, like, let's say 80. Like, when I'm asking them questions about their teenage years, and then Letty watches this in 50 years from now, like, that's over 100 years ago that happened. Yep. And she's going to be able to see that. And it's funny. I wonder if she's going to watch it and she's like, this quality sucks. Or, like, this isn't 3D. Like, who knows what technology would be like for her, right?
Well, we look at videos. I remember having videos. I look at some of my old, like, lifting videos that I recorded on something decent.
Yeah.
And you look at it, especially if any of the platforms have compressed them or whatever, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
it's like grainy and all kind of, it's just like that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, it is wild. I will say, I think the difference may be like you have to wear some kind of glasses and it like plays where it's like in there. But honestly, with the way AI is, it's probably going to be able to.
I can't even pantomime what technology. I was about to put a headset on, then I was like, wait, nope, it's already going to be in there.
Yeah,
you don't even need to do anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, you know, for Letty to hear my grandparents talk about what their TVs were like and radio and all that technology and things like that. Yeah, I'm going to ask him questions too about like what technology do you wish you would have embraced sooner? Like, did you? Because I mean, like computers, I remember people being like, "Oh, don't let your kids play on computers." And like now, thank God my parents didn't. Restrict me, and I was able to because like I can navigate a computer very well. Right, whereas I have friends that are like still like I have no idea what to do on a computer. You know, so
it's an unfortunate reality, but I don't know, man. I can't even imagine. You know, we've talked about like the change in just overall desires, right? Like kids not wanting to get their driver's license. It's because they can see how fast technology's moving, and they know they don't need to. Right. The second that stuff takes over, people are going to go, oh, you drive? That's so dangerous.
Yeah. Like when a self-driving car can get you there and doesn't require you a license, then why do you even have one?
Why?
You know? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, I guess all of this technology and stuff brings me into something that you wanted to talk about, and I had no idea it even existed. And this is the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. I'm going to ask my grandparents if they have ever heard of this. But it's a United States federal law that allows the government to impose secrecy orders on patent applications that might pose a threat to national security. So there's different like levels and things like that. And, you know, I read through some of them, but it's something like 5,800 are currently in secrecy right now.
Yep. And so, you know, all those movies you saw about folks tinkering in their backyard with the thing that could have been a nuke or whatever, sure, there's probably plenty of those. But I think that's what it was sold as, is like, we don't want just Jim Bob down the street building a nuke or something or some major weapon. But like, it also has protections in it that have nothing to do with the actual security or rather our safety. Economic securities are placed into that.
Well, yeah, I asked ChatGPT like what had been declassified. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was things like mapping of the ocean floor type technology and stuff. So it seems like any technology that could put anyone else ahead of us anywhere is like, no, we're not going to talk about
and
this.
You really got to trust the people that get to say without taking a poll on whether or not you really got to trust that those people are only going to be looking out for the actual interests of Americans and not their own pockets.
Well, for example, if someone invented a hydrogen engine,
which there are videos of, and I was taught that they were immediately fake. Those are fake. That's stupid. Cars can't run. Whereas my thought process was, I know that it is neither real nor fake. I understand no one tore the car apart and looked into it. I also haven't seen any of that stuff come to fruition, and it's not like they can, hey, can we do a public records request and just, is there any cars that run on water in here?
Right, you can't do that.
No,
right? Yeah.
But that would destabilize our economic security and reliance on oil.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I definitely understand the purpose of it. I think you and I both understand the purpose of it. But again, with all things, it's like, who's making the decisions? And I'd like some more information.
Well, so that. There's a when you bring economics into it, specifically any finances, why roll out Gen 4 technology when you can spoon feed out Gen 1 technology? If I come out with something that is leaps and bounds ahead of the next piece of technology, why? I mean, they could suppress that.
Right.
Feed first gen, second gen. It's interesting stuff. They could, I don't know. Again, I'm not really trying to conspiratorize anything or whatever that word is, but 5,800 patents, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
My brain says that's really all it should be.
And a lot of them, it looks like, don't really get declassified because between 2019 and 2021, the number changed from 5793 to 5736.
Yeah, it went up in 2020.
Right.
So you had a bunch of home tinkerers.
Right. So
during COVID, tinkering on stuff.
But speaking of technology and that stuff changing, Walmart is replacing all of its pricing with digital screens. I've seen people talking about this, and Walmart's kind of trying to pitch it as like, well, it's easier when we change out a product. We can just be like, bada-ba-da-boop, bada-boop, you know? And it probably somewhere someone could manage the pricing across the whole United States, you know?
Definitely not surge pricing, though.
But they said, they literally said in the article, the Walmart people are like, well, this is definitely not for surge pricing. And I'm like, oh, sure it ain't.
Why'd you say
why'd you say that? Like, it's the weirdest thing ever to be like.
Who said surge for you? You guys said
like
surge pricing.
You're holding a hatchet. You're like, man, I'm definitely not a murderer.
I mean, yeah, dude. You want to be able to control labor, output, stability. Even though I think that more people are going to be getting stuff delivered from Walmart than are actually going to Walmart, that surge pricing can work across the board and go, hey, man, you get your cleaning supplies at 6 a.m. It's cheaper than, oh, shit, after work.
Right.
One, they get the, oh, dang, I forgot I needed paper towels. Who cares? I'll pay the extra $2.
Right.
But then it kind of controls, it at least pushes your customers to certain times. Like we push our customers to certain dates.
Electrical people, the electrician company or your like power company will do the same thing too. Like we'll give you like pricing where it's cheaper during the day to do things because most people are at work.
Yep. So it's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody's been flooded. It's the fees, man.
Well, here's your multi-million-dollar business idea. Invent an app. Like Honey does on the computer or some of those other apps that tracks Walmart pricing and stuff like that. And even make it so that you can look at different areas. Because a lot of times people don't realize this. Target does it. Target will price match their app to you locally. And apparently a lot of people, especially for produce, if you're going to buy bananas in New York City, it's more expensive than if you bought bananas on Target.com. And you can go up there and they'll price match the online price. So if you invented something that essentially scoured all Walmart's digital boards and find the cheapest price, you can be like, well, hey, in Oklahoma City, it's actually $20 cheaper right now or whatever. Yep. So that's my multi-million-dollar app idea.
Okay.
You run with it. I don't have time.
Right. We got cookies, man.
Yeah. So, but no, I think it would be a pretty interesting thing to see. I know I have an app on my Amazon. They'll tell me the Amazon tracked prices and stuff like that. And you see how volatile Amazon prices are.
It's wild, man. Yeah. It's, my brain's going to go crazy on that. It's necessary. I mean, we're still going to have a labor force. We're still going to have some amount of inventory. We run in just-in-time logistics here. So like, planning and processing, and if you've got a truckload coming in, you need to get what you have out. Yeah. And so, it's just
dynamic pricing. I mean,
across the board.
Did you ever hear there was a bar somewhere that had dynamic pricing on their the entire menu was done this way, and if a beer wasn't being ordered a lot, the price would start to go down, and the beers that were getting ordered more, the price would go up.
That's killer.
And so then what it did, it like helped them even out. And then there's some people that was like, no, I'm willing to pay this much for this beer. And then I also, in college, there was a place called like Copper Tap, I think it was the actual place. But anyways, beer at 8 o'clock for a pitcher was 25 cents.
Oh.
And it went up a quarter every 15 minutes until it was like $6 for a pitcher or something. It was still dirt cheap, like at the end of the night, $5 for a pitcher.
Let's go, boys.
But the fraternities would send all the younger guys there that were old enough to drink, or maybe they had IDs at least, there, and they would order like 10 pitchers, and they'd put it on the table, and they paid, $2.50 or something for all those pitchers. But you had hot beer at the end of the night. But if you, paid $5 for the pitcher, it wasn't hot.
Yeah, but you're young and in college.
But it also meant that you were getting drunk way quicker because you were drinking pitchers for so cheap. And then people ended up spending more money. And at the end of the day, I doubt those beers, honestly, they were kegs tapped. So
cheap beer, cheap whatever. I mean, it's a liter. They probably, it was probably a wash, but
packed your place out early.
Did. Yeah.
So you had people in your bar at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
And most bars in Gainesville didn't have people coming in till between 10 and 11. Yep. So you were having a packed bar, which I think also served food.
Okay.
At 8 o'clock.
There you go. Yep.
So
get people drunk early, serve them some food. I like it.
Smart idea.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think that you can take it and run with it, but like at some point, it's going to just make sense to everybody to pay a little surcharge to be able to swing into the 23rd Street store because they pay for that real estate and it's expensive and whatever. I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
You want
if
us to keep it.
It becomes cheaper to not come to the store.
Right.
Because it seems like that wouldn't be counterintuitive because the amount of people purchasing products they didn't need because they came in the store now is going down.
But when the whole, initially the delivery apps had that symbiotic relationship to that store. But they're building their own stores.
Yeah.
And so depending on the tech play, when you look at, again, what these companies are worth, people are pouring money into them. They're going to have the pockets to start squeezing, like, especially in major cities. You know, like Lucky's rent was $55,000 a month.
What?
Yeah.
I did not realize that. Lucky's is a grocery store that went under here.
Right. Hobby Lobby's was about the same.
Hobby Lobby's is way bigger, though, I feel like. Lucky's was not that big. Or maybe Lucky's was way bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, so, I mean, they build whole shopping centers around these places. So there's a whole real estate play for those of you that have your, developer hats on or your capital raising hats on. There's a whole play where if I put 5% of these box stores out of business, then I've got 5% of shopping malls that go from A properties to nothing properties.
Well, this brings up the Kmarts and stuff that have went under. Developers are buying them, turning them into climate-controlled storage. And then, because the parking lots are so large, you don't need a parking lot that big. They're turning
storage.
No, apartments.
Oh,
like the one on,
that's right.
There's one on our beach, literally right when you go over where that WOW and stuff is over there. They literally took part of the parking lot and turned it into an apartment complex. And then the rest of the parking lot is for the storage.
Well, in my opinion, that's a play for the next maybe decade, but the younger generation, I mean, I'm not the younger generation, but like, I don't want to hoard stuff.
I don't either.
Depression era folks they grew up without stuff. They didn't have stuff. And so they have like their hoard of valuables. That's like your heir is paying 1-800-JUNK to come get it out.
Well, also there wasn't the convenience factor we have now. Like used to, my dad had a box, which I have a box of cable. So I won't get, like the analogy though is just like, who knows when I need this cable again? And then if I do need it, how am I going to find another cable? Go to Best Buy, hope they have. Now with Amazon and all the other stuff around, it's like, bro, I can find the exact 1983 cable online and I'll have it here in no time at all.
Man. People will have a $200 a month storage unit that has maybe $5,000 worth of stuff in it forever.
Right.
And they don't use it and they don't take it. And it's less of a, if I need it, it's more of a, I think their world was created during a time where scarcity was real. You get more fast fashion, fast this, fast that. You want anything, you can get some version of it.
How many people do you think actually utilize their garages as a garage and not as storage?
I don't.
Yeah. See if that's Googleable, like how many people actually use their garage to park their vehicles and not as an extension.
It's not packed with junk. I could easily pull a vehicle in there, but I guess another play is like, both of our vehicles are so big and garages are the same size.
I understand that. But I've passed by houses before where when they rose, I mean, I'm like, how do you even know what's in here? Like it just looks like it's a, for lack of a better word, like a shit pit. It's just so much stuff. But the alcohol place was called the 411 Stock Market Drinks London.
Okay.
So like literally,
that's just cool vibe. Yeah. Stock market-y change in prices.
I always thought that'd be like a really fun thing. And obviously it's like, I don't want one alcoholic drink to become like $20, but like it would be fun if there was like this window of a couple of dollars, everything kind of just like fluctuated in. Yeah. It's almost like a game. Yeah. And it may lead you to try something you wouldn't have normally tried. And then now you're like, dang, I really like this thing. I agree with that.
So. I agree with that. I've got no problems. It's just what we're experiencing is the shift of the economy. And like, entrepreneurs are going to be out there. There are always cracks in the wall for folks to make money, and like we're going to find them. You know, those of y'all out there that have entrepreneurial hats on, there's just new ways to make it.
Do you know how many? This young, I think they're like 20-year-old kids just became multimillionaires because they're the ones that came up with the idea for Ubers to start putting the digital displays on their rides so that they could advertise. And so taxis have like usually they don't have digital, they just have like plain like ones, but they made it for Uber drivers now, and you get paid to drive with this digital display on depending on where you are, where you're going, like all this stuff is a dynamic pricing type model. But again, you buy this kit for like a couple $100. It's magnetically mounted to the top of your car, and but
all right, we got a statistic. You're going to have to fact check it. Easty pulled it out quick, but it says 93% of homeowners use their garages for storage, and 37%, that doesn't math, use the garage for cars.
They're saying 93% of people have storage in there, and then, like you said, could probably park a car in.
Oh, okay.
The ability, they could pull a car in, but in general, it's more of a storage situation for them.
Yes.
And then 37%, so a third of people, or a little bit over a third, can't even put a car in a garage. Like, can't do it.
120% of homeowners have a garage.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but anyways, no, I mean, I know, how many people you know? I know everybody I know maybe can put a car in their garage. Most of my friends that have any vehicles in their garages have ridiculous sized garages because they still have
my proud moment,
1 or 2 bays of storage.
When we lived in Houston, Aubrey and I parked her Mazda and my Jeep Grand Cherokee in the garage together. And, we had our weight racks and stuff in there, like, that folded on the wall.
Oh, that's right.
But we literally parked in the garage together. The only way it worked is because it was just us, and she pulled in forward, and I backed in beside her so that we both could be as close to the wall as possible. And then we both had doors to be able to open. Because otherwise, it was really hard in a 2-car. I mean, it is. It's just garages. I told you this. Cars are getting bigger.
Huge.
Go look at what a 1990 like Tacoma look like versus a 2020 Tacoma. I think you'll see a huge size
you were telling
difference
me
in
about
these
that
trucks.
the other day.
Trucks are like boats comparatively. They're just getting bigger and bigger. Same thing. When you go look at the Santa Fe from 2 years ago and then the new Santa Fe, the new one's so much bigger, taller, wider, longer.
Americans are getting bigger.
I know, right? But the garages are not getting bigger.
No, they're not.
A 2-car garage is still, what, like 20 by 20, right?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Something like that.
So, like, garages aren't getting bigger. The cars are getting bigger. So, there's percentage of garage used for so 93% of it, well, it's still saying 80-something% of people park a vehicle there. Workspace, half of people. Interesting.
Yeah, I know folks that do that, especially folks like woodworking and stuff, kind of home hobbyist. Yeah. Again, side hustle generation. Folks are needing to get more income. So, yeah, I could see. I like the workspace thing.
Yeah.
The rest, who knows?
Yeah, I think that this is a perfect time to end because I think Lady just got home. So there's a good chance that she's going to pop in here because she tends to pop in at the end of any meeting wanting to say hi. Does Letty want to come say hi to the podcast before we end it? Okay, Letty, come here.
Come on, Letty.
Come on, hurry. We're about to end it. You got to hurry. Come on.
You got to say hi to everyone.
Come here.
Right here. These two.
Come here. You're going to sit on my lap. You're going to end the video with me, okay? All right. Okay. Let's say thanks for watching. You going to say it? But you got to say you're worth it. Can you do that? Can you say you're worth it? No, you want me to do it? Okay.
So sweet.
Thanks for watching. Do hard jit. You're worth it.